We're on section 0.6 on factoring. This is how to work problem 12 for an example. We're going to assume that this trinomial was arrived at by multiplying two binomials together using the FOIL method. So it's going to look something like this and this. And the problem that I'm going to run into here is the first term is the one that's going to include some guesswork or force us to do some guessing. Because what can I multiply together to get 12x squared? Well, I could multiply 12x and x. That times that would give me my 12x squared. I could also multiply 6x and 2x. These two multiplied together would give me my 12x squared. I could also have multiplied 4x times 3x. These two could also work to give me my 12x squared. But what's going to help us out here is the last term. When I multiply, what do I multiply together to get 2? And the answer is 1 and 2. And so that's going to help a whole lot. That's a little bit quicker and easier, fewer choices. And the way I'll decide, am I going to put the 1 here and the 2 here? Or the 2 here and the 1 here? And same question, the 1 here and the 2 here? Or the 2 here and the 1 there? Look at these and think ahead a little bit. Which possibility will give me my positive 11x in the middle? And if I look at these just a little bit, if I put the 1 here and the 2 here without writing it out, 2 times 12x is going to be 24x. It's going to be way too big. It won't work. If I put the 2 here and the 1 here, 2 times 6x would be 12x, plus 2x would be 14x. Still too big. If I put the 2 here and the 1 here, 2 times 4x would be 8x, plus 3x would be 11x. I want to put the 2 here and the 1 here. And if you'll check your work, multiply these two binomials together using the FOIL method. Your first term is 4x times 3x is 12x squared. Your last term, 1 times 2, is positive 2. Your inner and outer, 2 times 4x is 8x. 1 times 3x is 3x. If I add those together, I get the 11x for the middle term of the trinomial. And so that's my correct choice right here. Now, there is something that I didn't mention, but it's certainly a possibility, and if you're thinking like you ought to on these, you might be saying to yourself, well, Professor Joyner, I could have multiplied a negative 1 times a negative 2 and still arrived at a positive 2, and that's correct. But the reason I didn't even consider putting a negative 1 and a negative 2 here, think about it for a moment. If I put a negative sign here and here on each of these, wouldn't that give me a negative sign when I combine my outer and inner terms? I'd have like a negative 12x plus negative x be negative 13x. And so that was the reason I didn't even consider the possibilities. It may well be that if, in fact, if you had a negative sign here and you have a positive number here, you're going to have to go with the two negative numbers in order to get the negative sign in the middle. So there's your solution. That's how you arrive at it. And it didn't kill us getting it. It didn't take an awful lot of time. Let's try number 14 next. Okay, I have the trinomial 4y squared plus 12y plus 9. I want to say to myself, what binomials using the FOIL method could I multiply together to get that? And so I'm going to put down my parentheses for my choices. And again, I've got a couple of choices for the 4y squared. I could have multiplied 4y times y, or I could have multiplied 2y times 2y. So just write them both down. Now, for the 9, my choices are 1 times 9 or 3 times 3. Now again, it could be negative 1 times negative 9 or negative 3 times negative 3. But the reason I didn't even write those down, and I don't have to worry about them, is look at the sign of the middle term here. It's positive. And so it's got to be two positive numbers that I use for this. And again, if you look at this for just a moment, which pair will give you the 12y in the middle? You know, if I put 9 here and 1 here, 9 times 4y, for my outer term, it's going to be 36y, way too big. If I put the 9 here and the 1 here, 9 times 2 is 18, too big. So it really has to be 3 there and the 3 there. 3 times 3 gives me my 9. 2y times 2y gives me my 4y squared. My outer term, 3 times 2y would be 6y. My inner terms, 3 times 2y would be 6y. If I add those together, I get the 12y that I want for my middle term of my trinomial. And so that's my choice right there. That's my answer. I will point out, there's another way to write this. If I have 2y plus 3 times 2y plus 3, isn't that the same thing as 2y plus 3 squared? Yes, it is. And this, either way of writing your answer would be fine for me. Just do whatever the answer in the textbook does. I will point out one other thing. We showed you some shortcuts for squaring a binomial sum in the last lecture. If I were to take that shortcut and apply it, square this term, I'd get this. Square this term, I'd get that. Multiply this term times this term, 3 times 2y would be 6y, and double it, and I'd get the middle term. It's somewhat difficult. It takes some experience to look at this trinomial and see that it was a binomial sum or difference squared. The technique that I've shown you of using the FOIL method backwards to factor this expression, it'll work, and you just don't need to worry about it. So either this or this would be your answer for number 14.